Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime in Peoria. Hi, I'm Dan Shea. I'm Executive Director of TheaterWorks, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the programs, the history, and the offerings of TheaterWorks, one of the West Valley's most important cultural institutions. TheaterWorks has been around Peoria for over 26 years. It had its beginnings in a barn when David Woe pulled together a group of local citizens who were interested in the art of theater. People actually mortgaged their houses to be able to put together the capital to create this first community theater. And they started doing shows in the barn and in various spaces around the town. From the very beginning, young people were a part of the TheaterWorks program. David created a program called Kids Alive that literally toured the country in a van, a dozen kids singing on the steps of the Capitol everywhere they could find, bringing the talent and the joy and the enthusiasm of Peoria youth to the country. That really formed the basis of the art of TheaterWorks. Then through the years, wonderful shows of every different kind and variety have been done on a number of different stages. TheaterWorks spent some time in a strip mall out on 99th Avenue. It spent time literally in a barn. It spent time at the Lakes, a facility up in Sun City where they've improvised a stage out of a regular old auditorium. And now TheaterWorks has entered a whole new period in its history for the last 6 years as the resident managing company in the beautiful Peoria Center for the Performing Arts, a $12 million facility right in the heart of Old Town Peoria. This is a great honor for TheaterWorks to be able to occupy this space, and a great challenge and a joy for us to fill it with activity. Hundreds of nights every year there are performances in this space, hundreds and hundreds of classes, workshops, engagements of the community in every different sort of our own work, our own plays, and of course, community events as well. But more about that in a moment.
As I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward!
The Peoria Center for the Performing Arts was built in 2006 through a wonderful combination of public and private, mostly city investment. It is a building with two beautiful performance spaces, one of them the 270-seat Guider Theater, one of them the 80-seat Constance Macmillan Theater. Then there are studios, classroom spaces, a scenery shop, a beautiful lobby, and of course now a plaza that opens out into the beautiful new Osuna Park. It occupies the site of the former Peoria Town Hall, and it's been at the center of the community for a long time, that little neighborhood on Washington Street, just off Peoria Avenue, just off Grand. It was for many years the center of town. We feel it's becoming a center of the cultural activity in town once again. Anytime you walk into the Peoria Center for the Performing Arts, you'll find life. That life in the summertime is often summer camps, where groups of kids ranging from the youngest tots of 3 to 6 years old all the way to teenagers do different kinds of performance activities, including the mounting of full musicals. The wonderful thing about TheaterWorks and the wonderful thing about the Peoria Center for the Arts is it has the technical capability and the space to allow all these different groups of kids to find their niche within the performing arts.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Right, yeah. Spelled with an E, like Lego my ego without the G.
And interestingly enough, the history of TheaterWorks is such that performers such as Matthew Morrison, the highly acclaimed star of Glee, indeed was a summer camper at TheaterWorks and credits that as being the start of his career in show business. So from TheaterWorks to the Broadway stage, and to television. One of the things that we are proudest of is the caliber of the instructors that we bring to the TheaterWorks summer camps and also to classes that we run throughout the year. We use highly trained professional teachers, directors, and at times actors on our stage. We are a theater with great roots in the community, but our community includes a lot of very talented artists who do this for a profession, and TheaterWorks provides an outlet for them as well. Our philosophy is really to be a place that is professionally managed to the highest standards and yet offers opportunity to the broadest possible range of the community. And you see that beginning with our summer camps and our youth programs.
What you doing? Well, obviously, I'm trying to cook bacon in a toaster. God dang it, I burnt the bacon! Well, what are you doing?
But summer camps and youth programs are only a little quadrant of what we do at TheaterWorks. During the course of the performance season, you will find our YouthWorks shows, which are fully produced major musicals and plays with young casts, again, directed by professional directors. And you will find our Masterworks series, which is kind of our crowning glory. Masterworks builds on the 20-year tradition, 20-plus year tradition of fine performances at TheaterWorks. Again, engaging artists from every corner of the community. People who do this for a living, people who also do this out of love. And again, always professionally directed and professionally managed.
Your Majesty! Don't you want the crown? Don't you want to be king of fools and rule all over Paris? If only for a day. King! I crown thee Quasimodo, bell ringer of Notre Dame Cathedral, and King of Fools!
These productions have ranged in size and in scale from last year's The King and I
wish to make gift. I hope you will accept. Put it on finger. Put it on, put it on.
Oh, Your Majesty, I don't know what to say.
When one does not know what to say, it is time to be silent.
and the beautiful Stephen Sondheim musical, the Send in the Clowns musical, A Little Night Music.
One who keeps tearing around, one who can't move. Where are the clouds? Send in the clouds.
To comedies like the Dixie Swim Club and dramas like the upcoming Broadway classic Doubt, which will be the launch of the 2012-13 TheaterWorks Masterworks season. Subscriptions are available, of course, to those shows. And we also want people to understand that Masterworks are available for everybody, and we have a different kind of plan for any person and any family. You can buy a Flex Pass, you can buy a Season Pass, and of course, we work very hard to make sure that tickets are available and affordable for the whole community. One of the great joys of working at TheaterWorks, where I've worked as a director before joining the staff this year, is the caliber and the enthusiasm and the joy that people find in doing work on that stage. You know, we live in a world where more and more of our entertainment is found in smaller and smaller boxes, small screens on our little phones or our PDFs or, of course, the boxes attached to our TV sets. But we find in theater that there's still something very special about being in the room with other people, sharing a laugh, sharing an idea, sharing a tear. It's the original virtual reality theater. It happens live, in real time, and always in 3D. And you'll find at TheaterWorks that we do that to the highest level of professional standards that we can possibly achieve. And that's the joy of it. So whether it's Masterworks or YouthWorks or the summer camps, we're striving to bring real stagecraft combine it with the theatrical arts of the writers and the talents of our wonderful, wonderful cast, and give you an experience that you can't get in front of a screen. When was the last time you stood up and cheered for a movie, no matter how good the movie is? We have people standing up and cheering for our productions at TheaterWorks all the time. And let's talk a little bit about what we have coming up this coming season at TheaterWorks. First is Little Shop of Horrors, a YouthWorks production in the Geider Theater. Little Shop of Horrors, as you may be familiar with, is based on the wonderful old sort of B-movie horror film about a plant that eats insects and larger creatures. It's going to be done by a wonderful youth cast, but with a fully realized production, full sets, full props, full extraordinary costumes, and that'll be opening up in September. Following that on the Geider main stage, we have The Music Man. Now that is a Masterworks production with an adult cast. Music Man by Meredith Willson, one of the great American musicals. I'm sure people are familiar with 76 Trombones, Marion the Librarian, Gary, Indiana, and the wonderful show. We've got Trouble here in River City with the capital T. That rhymes with P and that stands for pool. Yes, all those great songs from The Music Man, the 76 Trombones musical. That will be a cast of dozens, many sets, very colorful, big orchestra. We always use live musicians at TheaterWorks for our Masterworks shows, and that will be happening in the early fall, September, October at TheaterWorks on the main stage, on the Geider. Now, we also have a different kind of offering at the beginning of the season in the Macmillan Theater, which is our intimate theater. And the play Doubt by John Patrick Shanley is going to be our first offering in there. Doubt is a drama about the questions that arise from a Catholic priest's relationship with a kid. Now, don't jump to conclusions, and indeed that's what the play is about, people who jump to conclusions. We never know necessarily what this gentleman's intentions are. We do know that he has really helped this kid, done a wonderful job with him, brought him out of himself. But one of his fellow workers in the church, the Mother Superior, has her doubts. And the play is really a mystery trying to get at the heart of this gentleman's intention. Now, when we chose this play 6 months ago to be part of this new season, we had no idea that it would be as topical as it is now. Once again, with the news being very much centered around these kinds of issues. So it's a play as contemporary as today. The play was very highly honored on Broadway. It's a winner of every prize that Broadway has to offer. The most honored play of the last 10 years in New York. And we're going to be doing a very strong production of it. Our artistic director, Robin Allen, will be playing the lead role of the Mother Superior. We have a great cast and a wonderful director, Judy Rawlings, who's one of the leading lights of the Valley's theater community. So Doubt will be happening in the smaller Macmillan Theater as Little Shop of Horrors and Music Man happen in the larger Geider Theater. Now, following that, we'll move to A Christmas Carol when we get into the holiday season.
You know my voice. You know my manner. You know me, Ebenezer Scrooge.
I know who you appear to be.
You know who I was!
What do you want with me?
Much, Scrooge, much.
Who are you, really?
Ask me instead who I once was.
You're very demanding for a dead man. Fine, who are you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley!
Can you sit down without sinking through the seats?
I can't.
Our holiday offering once again this year will be A Christmas Carol, our own version of the retelling of this Charles Dickens classic. Now, the wonderful thing about A Christmas Carol is it can be done any number of ways. Our way is a joyful way, with a lot of music, a large cast, a lot of kids involved. It's really intended to be a holiday retelling of this wonderful story, fit for the whole family, and a great way to create a new family tradition. In the tradition of our Miracle on 34th Street, we did a couple of seasons running. Now it's A Christmas Carol, back again at the holiday season at TheaterWorks.
Back then, he was afraid of too many things.
You had something to ask of me, Ebenezer?
Yes. Well, I mean, if it's convenient, I was wondering
I'm not
if...
planning to leave anytime soon, Ebenezer Scrooge.
You're not making this easy, Sarah.
I am very happy to hear that. I think you had better ask before we are both too old to proceed, however, don't you?
Fine. Would you have this dance with me?
I'd enjoy that, I think.
Oh, we have good food, good friends, and good music. Oh.
Also at holiday time for the younger kids, we'll be doing a classic, The Velveteen Rabbit. That is going to be one of our YouthWorks productions. Again, a younger cast, professionally directed. That will be in the smaller, intimate Macmillan Theater, so there'll be a variety of offerings for your family during that holiday period. We start the new year with a new play, and this is something that we are deeply honored to be able to do here at TheaterWorks. A gentleman named Dale Wasserman was a resident here in the Valley. Dale was a very highly honored playwright. He was the author of Men of La Mancha. Most people have heard of that. He was the author of the play version of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, one of the most honored dramas of its era. He was a major figure in the American theater. And he developed in his last years a real love and affection for TheaterWorks and gave us the rights to do his two last plays. A couple years ago, I personally had the honor of directing a play called Premiere, which was a play about the discovery of a new work by Shakespeare, a comedy about the controversy such a thing would engender. It was great fun, and it was a great hit at TheaterWorks, back 2 or 3 years ago. But Dale did one play after that, and he passed away right around that same time. And in his papers was the draft of another show about his youth riding the rails as a hobo in the 1930s. He was a teenager, and like many teenagers in the Midwest, there was no work in his town, so he hit the rails. He was very careful to form the distinction between being a bum, which is somebody who wanders around and doesn't work, and a hobo who was wandering looking for any work that he can do, and that's what Dale was. The stories are fascinating, they're a little scary, they're a little funny, they're more than a little funny. There's sometimes a real sense of the open road and the challenge of living your life with no security, out on the edge every day, but with that ambition to make something of yourselves. And that's what's burning in the night, the desire to go, to be free, and to sort of find what's at the other end of not that rainbow, but that rail line. There's a certain resonance for that at TheaterWorks, where the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe runs right past our theater along Grand Avenue. Those are some of the railroad tracks that Dale Wasserman actually rode as a teenager back in the 1930s. Burning in the Night tells his story. We have a marvelous actor, Mike Lawler, who also plays Scrooge in Our Christmas Carol, will be playing the role of the hobo. But there's also a little band that plays some classic American music, songs by Woody Guthrie, American classic songs like Big Rock Candy Mountain, great folk tunes from the railroad era. And that band acts as another character, moving back and forth with the character of the hobo, making for a very interesting and very charming evening of theater. And I'll be delighted to be able to direct that again as a world premiere production on the TheaterWorks stage. We are a theater that is coming of age to be able to present the last work by a major American writer, something that's accessible for everybody, premiering at your TheaterWorks.
Underneath whose arm an envious thrust Tybalt hit the lifeless stout Mercutio. And then Tybalt fled, but by and by comes back again to Romeo. Romeo, who had but newly entertained revenge. And to it they go like lightning, for ere I could draw to part them was the stout Tybalt slain. And as he fell, did Romeo turn and fly.
The next show of the YouthWorks season, once we get into 2013, is a very unique play. It's called Avenue Q, the Youth Edition. Now, if you don't know Avenue Q, it's sort of like an episode of Sesame Street written and directed by the creators of South Park. It's the story of a gentleman who is also an actor played by a puppet who moves into a neighborhood that's not unlike the Sesame Street neighborhood, but a couple blocks east on Avenue Q in New York. And the wonderful people he gets to know in the neighborhood who have the interesting challenges of living their day-to-day life in the city. And all of the characters are played by both visible actors and puppets. It's a combination of that. And I've seen this show, indeed I've been involved with the production of it in the past, and it is funny, it is tuneful, it is more than a little bit irreverent, and it has been modified so that it is appropriate for teenagers to perform and for teenagers to come see. In its original Broadway version, and it was the Tony Award-winning show for its year on Broadway, Avenue Q was, I would say, an R-rated show. Well, now it's PG-13. And Avenue Q Student Edition will be the next show in the Big Guider Theater as we move into the springtime at TheaterWorks. It's going to be unique, it's going to be a hit, and it's going to be an entertainment. That we can absolutely promise. The next show in the Guider Theater is a Masterworks show, and it is a fun show. It's called Musical of Musicals, the musical. Musical of Musicals is a parody, a loving parody of the great musical theater form. It takes a basic story, in this case a pay the rent, I can't pay the rent, you must pay the rent kind of melodrama story that we all would recognize. And it performs it in the style of 5 great makers of American musicals. Rodgers and Hammerstein, Jerry Herman of Hello, Dolly fame, the wonderful Stephen Sondheim, Kander and Ebb, who wrote Cabaret. So you get and of course, Andrew Lloyd Webber. So you get a real sense of style, and you get the joy of seeing the same story told 5 different ways. It is clever, it is very, very funny, it is very tuneful, and it is an absolute favorite of musical theater performers everywhere. So it promises to be an all-star cast with an all-star director, our wonderful own Stephen Hildebrand, who's been musical director for many, many shows for us. And it's going to be a great time. That is one of the springtime shows in the Guider Theater from the Masterworks series. Following that, we have 2 more shows to end the season. One more from YouthWorks, Hansel and Gretel, the classic story told in a modern, engaging, very theatrical style, again, fit for the entire family, guaranteed to bring the joy of live performance to even the youngest kids in a household. And then, of course, also closing the season, a comic murder mystery called Accomplice. Now, Accomplice is a very clever piece of writing by a gentleman named Rupert Holmes. He's well known as the author of the Broadway musical, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, and he is also well known to fans of radio from, was it 70s or 80s, the Pina Colada song. If you love Pina Colada, it's Getting Lost in the Rain. Actually, the real name of that song is Escape. That was Rupert Holmes. He's had a very active career in show business in every form, film, stage, you name it, he's done it. And he's written a very clever and very surprising mystery. I really can't tell you anything more about it. We can't give away the ending. But it's called Accomplice, and that will be the fun ending of our season for this year at TheaterWorks. The great joy of working for an organization like TheaterWorks is the difference we're able to make in the community every day. There are the shows that we do on our main stage and in our smaller Macmillan Theater. There are the classes, there are the workshops that we do with our kids. Kids Alive is the touring program. It's back. It goes all through the community doing performances. Older kids graduate in the Stardust troupe. Stardust is kind of like our own little glee, and they go out. This year they performed at the Wigwam's Easter egg celebration, while our Kids Alive troupe was performing at the Easter celebration over at the Peoria Sports Center with happy crowds in both places. We're delighted to be in the community that way. But there are also other times that our space at the Peoria Center for the Arts are used for very different things. We are very, very cognizant of the fact that this is the community's building, and all sorts of different entertainments and festivals are welcomed there. Just in the last few months, we've been home to the Black History Celebration with a concert by the wonderful artist Dennis Rowland. We've been home to the Sakura no Ne Japanese cultural event, which featured a play that had martial arts, Japanese taiko drumming, amazing visuals. It was a fabulous event that drew a very large audience in celebration of the Japanese American culture. And then just earlier this spring, we had Tradiciones, a new folkloric Mexican dance troupe based here in the West Valley. They make all their own costumes, they do all their own choreography. They put on an amazingly vibrant and entertaining performance over a couple of nights for packed houses just this spring at TheaterWorks. These are the kinds of community cultural events that will be happening at your Peoria Center for the Arts under the management of TheaterWorks and in cooperation with the City of Peoria and other West Valley groups. We're honored to be able to be the managing entity for that fabulous facility, but we know that it's there for all of us in the community. And now, with the opening of the Osuna Park right next door, the opportunity is there for more and different and better kinds of festivals all through the year in the heart of Old Town Peoria, the rapidly reviving Old Town Peoria. So that's a little bit about TheaterWorks. The most important thing about a theater, though, is that it's live in 3 dimensions, actually 4 if you count live in real time. So come see for yourself. TheaterWorks.org is our website. We have people at our box office always available every day. We'd love to come see you at the theater. If you want to just come by and take a look at your Peoria Center for the Arts, drop by. We're happy to show you around. We are available to rent the facility for different kinds of meetings and celebrations. As we talked about, take advantage of TheaterWorks. It's here in the community for you. But most importantly, come share a show with us. I think you'll have a pretty good time.
Here we come, wandering so fair to be seen. Love and joy come to you, and to your wassail too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new year. We are not daily beggars that beg from door to door. We are your neighbor's children whom you have seen before. Love and joy come to you, and to your wassail too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new year. Oh, good master and good mistress, as you sit before the fire, pray think on one poor creature who wanders in the mire. Love and joy come to you, and to your wassail too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new year.
So this is the first episode of a show called Showtime in Peoria, which will be coming out to you on Channel 11 from time to time to talk about not just what TheaterWorks is doing, but what also is happening in our valley, West Valley, and especially here in Peoria with our sister theater, our friends at Arizona Broadway Theater, other concerts and special events and festivals happening in the community. But we'll be looking forward to seeing you here on Channel 11, checking in on what's happening in Showtime in Peoria. Because right here in our little town, we have some very, very high quality performing arts. It's a part of our community. It's a vibrant part of the community. You don't have to leave Peoria to be part of a standing ovation.